So, my AI assistant actually crossed a line today. It sent an email I never approved, and I literally just sat there, staring at my screen for a good 10 seconds in total shock.
Okay, let me give you some context here. I use Claude as my assistant every single day, and our routine, it's always exactly the same. It drafts the email, puts it ready in my Outlook, and then I do the final check and press send myself. Every single time. That is the deal we have. But today, I asked it to remind a contact about some use cases we discussed. We went through a few iterations together, I made some edits, and I just said, put it in Outlook. Well, it did the whole thing. Drafted, placed, sent. Done. No, hey, shall I send this? And honestly, my first reaction was this real jolt of panic. Like, wait, that went out without me?
Because usually, we iterate on a draft together. It's about that human element of actively holding the pen, reviewing the words, and making the final call. I review it, I press send. But this time, the AI just completely took the wheel. And once my heart rate finally returned to normal, it really made me stop and analyze what was actually happening beneath the surface of that panic. And then I thought about Margaret. Now, imagine you hire a human secretary. Let's call her Margaret. Think about how trust naturally evolves in a real workplace between two actual human beings. In week 1, Margaret shows you every single letter before it leaves the building, right? You check every word. But after a year, she sends routine emails in your name, and you literally never even think about it. You didn't sit down and change the rules in some formal meeting. Trust just grew, organically, one task at a time. And that is exactly what's happening between me and AI right now. I am right in the messy middle of handing over that trust. Now, here is why this matters to all of us. This micro-level evolution of trust and workflow, it's exactly what massive organizations are totally failing at right now as they try to scale AI. They're treating it like a basic software installation rather than, the onboarding of 1,000 digital Margarets. They are slamming right into what we call the operating model gap. And guys, here is the uncomfortable math of AI transformation. Just look at this breakdown. The AI model itself, the shiny tech that everyone is completely obsessing over, is only about 10% of the equation. A whopping 90% is the operating model and the workflow redesign. It's the hard, unglamorous work of figuring out exactly how humans and AI are going to interact day to day. And crucially, this is the 90% that companies almost never actually budget for. Because of that gap, almost every ambitious boardroom AI strategy just dies silently. It always starts with this massive ambition, right? Huge budgets, transformation goals, big talk of competitive advantage, but then it hits the reality of the daily workflow. It hits fragmented data. It hits these stubborn legacy systems that just won't share information. It hits compliance risks and, of course, human resistance to change. But you want to know the ultimate silent killer? A total lack of true ownership. An AI strategy doesn't usually go down with a loud explosion. It fails silently because it just stops being anyone's direct responsibility. The AI model was never the bottleneck. The operating model was. So, the big question is, how do we actually bridge this massive execution gap between high-level ambition and the reality of daily workflow redesign? How do we stop running these endless, exhausting pilots that change absolutely nothing 6 weeks later? Well, we have to deliberately design an ideal shift from idea to actual impact. And to bridge that gap, Ideal Shift AI uses a really robust 4-step MIT-backed framework. It kicks off with an actionable AI strategy. But critically, and pay attention here, Step 2 is project management and adoption. This means getting your teams ready and actually willing to use the tools. Only after that do you build tailored AI solutions and finally ensure continuous AI maintenance. I'm telling you, if you skip Step 2, you are never going to reach Step 3. Let's bring this down to earth with a real-world application. So I work a lot with healthcare organizations, and in that field, being careful is just part of the job, and it absolutely should be. You simply cannot let an AI loose in a clinic without a massive, massive amount of structure and oversight. But we can actually see this balance beautifully executed. Ideal Shift AI partnered with De Hoop, which is a major mental health care provider over in the Netherlands. They completely reimagined their client registration process using intelligent automation. By designing these AI-powered registration forms, they transformed how clients engage with care from the very first touchpoint. They saved vital administrative time, they took the pressure off clinicians, and they did all of this while strictly upholding ethical standards and actually improving the completeness of the medical screening info. The key takeaway here, they didn't just buy an AI model, they redesigned the entire workflow. Which really brings us all the way back to my little moment of panic this morning.
organizations, much like myself staring in absolute horror at my automated outbox today, have to systematically evaluate where they actually stand in their readiness to let the AI take over. You have to know your own AI maturity level before you start delegating the heavy lifting.
Because AI success is purely an execution problem. It requires us to meticulously map out the process, step by step. You need to know exactly where the handoffs happen between the human and the machine. And this is exactly why taking an AI maturity assessment, like the one offered by IdealShift AI, is so incredibly vital. It helps you identify where those crucial operational gaps lie before you fall right into them. It forces you to take a hard look at your data, your culture, and your operating model, not just your tech stack. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I keep asking myself an uncomfortable question about my own AI maturity. When I insist on checking every single email, am I being careful or am I just holding myself back? Honestly, I think it's both. I definitely know where this is going. At some point, I am absolutely going to let it send directly, the exact same way you eventually stop reading over Margaret's shoulder. Just not today. Today I told Claude, in very plain words, never send anything without my permission. The secretary's getting really good, I'm just not quite ready to look away yet. How about you?